I'm 814 Projects, and this is wood framing the inside of an ABSCO 3032 GK metal shed. In the intro video, I just mentioned my plan for how I was going to wood frame the inside of my ABSCO 3032 GK metal shed, and that is to simply prevent snow from collapsing the roof. And in this video, part 2 here, I just wanted to talk about some of the work that I'm doing and some of the methods that I'm going to use to finish that framing. So right here I got my ridge beam, and it consists of two 2x4s with a piece of 1/2 inch OSB sandwiched in there. And I did this, and this is kind of set up like a door header, and I want it to sit on my 4x4 posts, which will be holding it up. I want the edges to be flush, so that way I can add any kind of strapping if I feel that extra support's needed. So all I did was I measured the length of the metal ridge beam that's in the shed, and it came out to 116 1/4. And then I pulled layout on that, and you see this big open spot here. That's where the door entrance is. So I'm not going to have any rafters over the door opening because I don't want to have a header and lower the headspace there. So I did 16 inch on center, and through this midsection here I'm going to do blocking, and I'm going to double up the rafters right along the edge of the door opening, and I'm going to double up the studs on the wall there. I'll probably even double up the blocking along this wide open middle section to try to give it some extra support so the snow doesn't collapse the roof. So I used GRK 3 1/8 inch R4 screws. I know there's not that many in there now. This is just to put this together. I'm going to add a bunch more here later. Okay, for the back side of the ridge beam, since there isn't a door opening that I have to worry about, I pulled layout, and I'm going to do rafters 16 inch on center. They're going to be 2x3 rafters because right now I can get 2x3s for about $3 a piece at Lowe's or Home Depot. So that should be pretty easy, and I feel pretty confident about the snow not collapsing the backside of the shed there. But the front, I'm just hoping that doubled up blocking across the middle of the roof will be enough without rafters to keep the snow from bringing the whole roof down. So next we're going to talk about my 4x4 posts here. So stay tuned. Okay, this is how I'm going to anchor those 4x4 posts, which will hold up the ridge beam to the concrete. I'm going with a Simpson Strong Tie standoff post base. This is galvanized, and it's a ABA44Z is the model number. And I was debating whether or not to use these angle brackets that I had left over from when I anchored the shed itself to the concrete pad. But I think that this standoff base is going to be a little better. It's definitely going to keep the 4x4 post from absorbing water because it will be an inch up off the concrete, even though it doesn't get that wet. And I'm going to use these 1/2 inch by 2 3/4 inch long wedge anchors to go through that slot there and anchor this to the concrete pad. So I feel pretty confident that this is going to anchor the posts pretty well to the concrete pad, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere, and I definitely don't think that they're going to rot. And I set one of those down right below the ridge beam, the metal ridge beam that's in the shed now, and I put my tape measure on it, and I measured up to the ridge beam, and I got 78 5/16 was the height, but I have to subtract 3.5 inches for the width of the 2x4 ridge beam, which the 4x4 post will be holding up. So that gives me a 4x4 post, which is 74 and 13/16 inches long, and hopefully if I cut it to that, it'll fit nice and snug in there. And if not, if it's a little bit short, then I can just use shims to give it a tight fit. So hopefully that'll work out pretty well. Now I'm gonna take the 4x4s, measure, cut them, and be ready to go. And as soon as the weather gets a little bit nicer, I'm gonna go down and start completing this framing.